Well, 27-20, the Lions win at FedEx Field. The first time the Lions have won in a Washington game in forever.
In Washington.
In Washington, that's right. Trevor Matich is here. And Trevor, we're really hoping that you can give us some hope for the future, because I got to tell you, I'm not feeling very optimistic about the season's chances. I think they still look pretty rough.
Well, hope is relative. What they did was improve from heinous to disappointing.
Okay.
But you can't be disappointed.
So you do see some improvement.
Right, because the first two games, they weren't even in the fight. They were outscored 50-7 in the first half, in the first two games cumulatively. And then in the second half, it was just a mad, desperate scramble. This game, they were in the fight. In this game, you saw a team performing at a fairly decent level that just fell short.
But when it fell short, yes. But look, RG3 not looking all that sharp. But I mean, he missed some passes. He threw an interception. There was a fumble, and that was, by the way, a very important drive in which he fumbled.
Yes, when you talk about RG3's performance in the first two games, he was completely ineffective. Part of the reason was he was completely rusty and probably not fully healthy. Definitely not fully healthy. But also the way they used him. We talked last week about how they did not move the launch point, how they had him right behind center and the blitzes targeted where they knew he would release the ball. Well, right from the very first play of this game, they moved him around. And in the pass, in the run, they threatened the edges with him. And he only carried the ball 6 times. And he didn't get hit a lot on called runs or even when he scrambled because he got on the ground. But that's one of the reasons he improved. Now, you're right, Brian, that he was inaccurate on a number of his passes. But really, this game came down to 3 plays. And 2 of them were RG3's turnovers, and both of those were mental mistakes. It's one thing if the defense makes a good play and forces a turnover. But his interception was a mental mistake because he was rolling to the right. It was 1st and 10 on the 19-yard line going in. There was no need to press.
Right.
And he got to the sideline. Pressure was coming, and instead of just throwing it away, he waited until he was in the grasp and then tried to throw it down the field. That's a mental mistake. That's completely correctable. The slide later on in the second half, where instead of sliding with feet first, he slid head first. Then when he hit the ground, because he was not touched by a defender, the ball popped out. That's a mental mistake as well. But that was recovered on the 25-yard line for the Redskins going in. The defense recovered it, so the Lions got the ball back, stopped the drive. But the point is, those are plays not made because you can't make a better play. They were mental mistakes that are correctable.
Trevor Matich is in studio with us. We're doing the autopsy on the Redskins, the corpse here that's rotting here at FedEx. You talk about the defense.
The rotting corpse of the Redskins.
On Friday, when we talked about the defense, you're very worried about the secondary, especially against the potent passing offense of the Lions. I understand they did get an interception. They got a pick 6 in this game. But to me, the story of the game was that 92-yard drive in the second quarter. The Lions looked like they were playing against a college team. I mean, it looked way too easy, and they drove the ball. It only took them 3.5 minutes down the field when they had been pinned on the 8-yard line. I mean, there's some fundamental problems with this defense, isn't there?
Yes, and they gave up over 400 yards again. The Redskins in the first 3 games have given up almost a mile of total offense in 3 games, right? And so
that's amazing.
But again, you look now at the trajectory. You break this down from a defensive standpoint, and there are reasons to be optimistic. Part of the reason is the scheme was very aggressive. They went after the Lions quarterback, Matt Stafford. They blitzed him. They pressured him. To do that, they had to play a lot of man coverage. And by and large, they did okay. This is one of the best receiving corps in the nation, in the league, especially with Calvin Johnson, who may be the best receiver ever to play. Certainly he's in that conversation. They played man coverage against these guys, and most of the time, when Matt Stafford completed passes, the Redskins coverage guys were there to make an immediate tackle. The problem is not a reception. You're going to make receptions in the NFL. The problem is when there's big yards after the catch.
Exactly.
That happened from time to time to the Redskins, but maybe only 3 or 4 times. The rest of the time, it was an immediate tackle. That is such a huge improvement over the first 2 games.
Real quick, I have a theory.
I was hoping you would go there.
RG3 is better. He definitely was better, and other than his lack of sliding at the end of a run, which I think would have made a huge difference in yesterday's game, certainly would have kept the ball in our hands there with his fumble late in the game. But he's definitely better than he was in game 1. And you're right, they used him finally in a way that we want him to be used. We wanted to get him out of the pocket, and he can run. He only did it 6 times, but at least he's a threat now. He wasn't a threat like that in the first and second game. Isn't it possible that he wasn't really ready? at Game 1. But they purposely put him out there because the last thing they wanted was to put Kirk Cousins in there, have him do well, and then have the controversy, the inevitable controversy with RG3 tweeting out, hey, I want to play, but they won't let me. I mean, they just bit the bullet and said, sure, he's not ready, but rather than have a quarterback controversy, we're just going to go with him.
Well, keep in mind that they literally mortgaged the future for the next 10 years to get this guy because of all the draft picks they traded to move up to take him. This is his team. And if he's healthy, he needs to play.
But what if he wasn't healthy?
Well, he was healthy enough to do, I think,
healthy enough to lose.
To do in the first 2 games what he did in this game, which is to say, move the launch point, be mobile, threaten the edges, even if you don't run a lot.
So they just told him not to? I mean, why is he doing stuff now that he wasn't doing in Game 1 and 2?
Either, in my opinion, they told him not to, or he told them he wasn't going to. Either way, we saw him in training camp running down rope lines, sprinting, high-fiving fans as he goes down. He could run in open air, and that's really what he did in this game. He ran in open air, and that's all he needs to do in order to be effective. Now, so the way they used him in this game is good. Friday, I think it was, or Monday, whichever one I talked to you, I thought this team might go 0-16 the way they were playing the first 2 games. All of a sudden now, in this loss, I see a team that's rounding back into competitive fashion. Now, they still need to get better, but that dire, dark pessimism that I had after the first 2 weeks is now gone. And keep this in mind as well, that there's a lot of talk now about how only 2% of teams in the history of the league have started 0-3 and gone to the playoffs, right? Yeah. I don't think that applies to the Redskins right now. And the reason is that normally when you start 0-3, it's because you're just hopeless. You're just a bad team anyway. The Redskins started 0-3 in part because of those first 2 games with a quarterback that was coming off the injury and all the no preseason, all that stuff. The defense had 2 guys in the secondary that were rookies that they were trying to get worked in. Excuse me. And so this team is not awful. They won the division last year.
And the NFC East is pretty well. I mean, you've got the Cowboys are 2-1, a very, very ugly 2-1.
Yeah.
Eagles are 1-2, and the Giants are 0-3 along with the Redskins.
Right.
With us.
And it's like that old joke. You know, you come across a bear in the woods. One of the guys puts on running shoes, and his buddy says, "You can't outrun the bear." So I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you.
Outrun you.
They don't have to outrun the 49ers. They have to outrun the rest of this hot mess of a division.
All right.
Trevor Matich, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
We'll see you Friday. You'll give us a preview. Or no, Monday. Or no, Friday. You'll give us a preview of the Oakland game.
At the Raiders.
At the Raiders. Over. Ooh, I hate that.